Hey, what is up, guys? Ace Chapman here, author of the Ace Formula. Just got an email this morning, that's why that's top of mind. I normally don't mention the book in my videos, but got an email this morning. Somebody that was talking about one of the ideas that basically made him money, got him a deal, and that's what I love to hear. So if you haven't checked out the Ace Formula, be sure to check that out. By the way, this is on my right hand. You might not be able to tell, not my left hand. This is an Oura ring. I've gotten a couple people on Instagram. They're like, "Are you married now? Like, what happened?" I'm not married. This Oura ring, very impressed by it. By the way, if you're looking for something, so I'm not a big jewelry wearer, and so I actually don't like the watches. So I don't like having a watch on. This is kind of a nice alternative for just keeping up with sleep, heart rate, basic things. Anyways, into the video. One of the things I mentioned last time is that with the fund, we had come up with a structure with the way we wanted to do deals, the way we wanted to structure the operations of the deals, and within months realized that it was just not the way to structure it. And so we had to basically pivot. And I don't talk a lot about the positive things that have come from the way business is done in Silicon Valley, just because a lot of money is poured after terrible ideas. But one of the things that they came up with that was brilliant is this concept and acceptance of pivoting. Companies like Instagram would not exist if it weren't for pivoting. I mean, their original concept was basically this kind of Flickr type photo album kind of thing and had nothing to do with like social media or any of that. And they pivoted into Instagram, and it is what it is today. So the idea that you could not just like be okay with change or not even struggling to change, but like very quickly embrace, okay, we got this information back, we got this feedback from the market, or we got this feedback based on kind of the way things are working out. We need to change as quickly as possible and embrace that change. I think that's one of the biggest things that has come from Silicon Valley. A guy who I'm a big fan of, and you probably are if you watch this channel, is Charlie Munger. So most of you know who that is. But if you don't, he is the guy who Warren Buffett goes to and Bill Gates goes to get advice. So a very, very wise old man. He is really just brilliant and has lived a life of just deal making. And his goal wasn't necessarily to become Warren Buffett, even though he knew Warren Buffett. His goal was to kind of be in the background, do some deals, and from a very young age, left being an attorney to get into basically just full-time deal making. And this is something that he's talked about for a long time, and it was kind of revolutionary, but it's this idea that one of the faults as humans is that we hold on to our first idea. We hold on to what we come to as a conclusion way too closely, and it's evolutionary. It's kind of like, he likens it to the egg and the sperm. Like, as soon as one sperm comes in, the egg closes off and no other sperm can get in. And it's the way our brain works as well. And it's to conserve energy. It's a smart thing. When it comes to biology, it's brilliant because on a biological level, we need to conserve as much energy as possible. And so the brain takes up more energy than any other organ in our body. And so once the brain comes to a conclusion, it's smart that it doesn't keep dwelling on it. It says, okay, we got that conclusion. Now we have a bias towards that conclusion and we move on to thinking about other things. And so it's this way in business. If you've ever been even in a relationship or with friends and they're like, you said that this was your idea and now you're changing it and they want to close you in to the idea that you originally came up with because that, you should have some loyalty to the idea, even though now you realize it's bad. It's the craziest thing ever. So we build this kind of momentum towards a certain idea, and we don't want to change it. It's the same way in business. It's the same way for us with the fund. We got to go back to the investor and say, hey, that original thing we told you, bad idea. We're totally pivoting. We're going to shift into something else. And it works so much better. It was like such a stark contrast. But if we didn't have the gumption, I'm sure some of the investors were like, oh no, like this is terrible. Like, you had this idea, now you're changing. But it should be embraced, and not, like I said, not just embraced, but like almost that should be the goal. Like, hey, where is the next pivot? How quickly can we change? How quickly can we shift over to some new way to do things? And it reminded me as well of a guy who came and spoke at a ministry. My dad, when I was young, he was ran an organization called Inner City Ministries, and was in ministry. And so we had this guy who came to us and he taught us about people that are in prison. And he had something called the prison ministries, and they would go into these prisons and talk to the prisoners. And one of the things that he learned that over the course of that time was that prisoners, most of the time, they have this one thing or this one mistake that they feel like, okay, I did this wrong and that's why I'm in jail, or that's why I got caught, and I need to make sure that I don't do that thing anymore. And, for people that aren't in jail, it's very obvious, like, well, maybe it wasn't just that one decision. And the interesting thing is that he started working with people, instead of just saying like, oh, don't do crime. It's like, what are all the thoughts that come before that? What are all the processes and systems that you have in place? Because you right now have processes and systems in your life, and it's getting you to what you have right now. And most of the time you think, oh, if I reach this goal, or I change this, or I focus on that, then I can change all the results. Like I can get the result that I want. When the truth is, it's all of those systems, it's all of those processes, like every little thing, how you wake up, how you talk to people, how you deal with problems, every little thing that may need to shift. And it's kind of going back and looking at everything in your life, and maybe that becomes the new pivot. And that's something that I don't think people, it's easy from a business level to think, okay, I'm going to make this pivot, but it's a lot tougher and it's just a lot more work. It's easier just to say, okay, this is who I am, and I've made an assumption that this is the way I'm supposed to be, when the truth is I really need to make a whole pivot into being a bit of a different person, which is something that a lot of us don't want to accept. And it's, again, just that same bias towards thinking that all these little conclusions that we've made along the way in our life are the right conclusions, and that we need to stick to those because, hey, that's who I am. I can't change who I am. That's what I'm supposed to be. All my friends would say, what? You're acting different now. You're not who you're supposed to be. But we've got this commitment to something that is based on the bias. It's not based on reality, fact, or even the feedback, and especially not based on getting to where we want to go and getting the results that we want to get. And so that's kind of the challenge that I want to give you guys, is to start questioning not just, okay, this is the next goal or this is the next step, but it's going to be very tough to get to where you want to get in business and be where you want to be if you're not the type of person that's going to get those results. So if you don't build yourself and start changing yourself into the person that is going to get those results, then you're never going to get there. And it's not just that one thing. I talk to people all the time, even just, random entrepreneurs that reach out to me for advice and that kind of thing. And they're like, I just need this. I need this one thing. Once I get this next piece of this or this next software, I find this person or blah, 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 then everything is going to change. And it reminds me every time of this guy talking to the prisoners. And they're like, well, no, it's just this one thing. This is what's going on in my life. And this is what I need to shift. And then everything is going to be right. And it's like, well, maybe there's more. Maybe there's some more things you need to change. Hope this video is valuable for you guys. Love the feedback from the last one. And be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like if you want to. I don't know. This isn't my life. I like sharing things with you guys. If you don't want to like it, it's all good. But look forward to hearing from you. Excited to see what some of you guys make happen in 2019.